Good evening, good morning, and good afternoon, everyone. What's up, everyone? This is Noipiax Indo, aka Rina Dave Abueva in real life. And today, this is the third episode of Bahasa Indonesia 101 for Filipinos. Now, in the last episode, I discussed the basic phrases and sentences in which you will learn the basic phrases on how to speak them in Indonesian. So it is this episode that I'm going to discuss, which is the fourth episode. This is my first time to use PowerPoint presentation as one of the methods in learning and to discuss with you. So for those Filipinos who wanted to learn Indonesian and just curious on the grammar, on the grammar structure, and this is for you all. So the topic that I'm going for this episode is basic Indonesian grammatical structure and Kata Bantu or auxiliary verbs. So let's have a overview about why Bahasa Indonesia. Now, Indonesian language is one of the easiest language in the world to learn. Particularly, it is learned by foreigners and also Filipinos, especially Filipinos who work in the Indonesian archipelago, particularly in Jakarta or in Semarang or in Bali. And the grammatical structure of the Indonesian language is the same as in English. And there are few things to remind that Bahasa Indonesia has no grammatical tenses, no verb conjugations, and it is a phonetic language in which each one letter represents one sound, and it doesn't have definite articles. So now, how does Indonesian grammatical structure look like? Now, Indonesian language in grammar follows the SVO or the subject verb agreement, in which the subject plus is the first, the second is the verb plus the object is equals to SVO. Here's an example that I made, which is saya makan pisang. Saya makan pisang. Now in this sentence is saya is the subject, makan is the verb, and pisang is banana. Pisang is banana. Okay? Another example, Ibu for this one is Ibu Maya jahit kaos. Ibu Maya is the subject, jahit is the verb, and kaos is t-shirt. So Mrs. Maya sews a t-shirt. Now, jahit means sews, to sew, and kaos means t-shirt. So the first kata bantu or the auxiliary verb is sedang. Sedang is in other context means continue, an auxiliary verb for the continuous subject. Okay, so subject plus sedang plus verb plus object. So for example, the sentence structure that I made is saya sedang makan pisang. Saya sedang makan pisang. I am eating a banana. Why sedang? Because the action of the verb is still is continuous. And another example, Ibu Maya sedang jahit kaos. Mrs. Maya is sewing a t-shirt. Particularly, this sentence is present progressive tense in which the action is going on. But in the case of the Indonesian sentence, it doesn't change the verb tense at all. Unlike in English, that you have to add ing after ing at the suffix ing at the verb. Okay. Another example. Next one is sudah or telah, which means already. Now in this case, the sentence and the action of the verb is already happened or done. Subject plus sudah or telah plus verb plus object, and there is an adverb time which is optional, or you can use whatever you want. For the sentence structure, the sentence sample would be dia sudah masak sarapan pagi ini. Dia sudah telah masak sarapan pagi ini. He or she already cooked breakfast this morning. In which the action is already done. It's already done. The third one. Another example would be ayah saya sudah menyapu lantai kemarin. My father swept the floor yesterday. Or ayah saya telah menyapu lantai kemarin. The context of the sentence is the same in meaning. Another auxiliary verb or kata bantu is to will. So it's the same process as SVO, and adverb time is optional again. The example would be saya akan makan pisang besok pagi. I will eat a banana tomorrow morning. In this case, akan is used for future tense, but the verb in Indonesian in the said sentence hasn't changed at all. Next, another sentence that I made would be saya akan pergi ke gereja. I will go to church. It doesn't matter whether you indicate the adverb or time or not, as long as the sentence is understandable. The next auxiliary verb is ingin or mau. Now take note that ingin and mau means to want or to desire or willing to. It's the same process. For example, Budi ingin belajar bahasa Indonesia. Budi ingin belajar bahasa Indonesia, which means Budi wants to learn bahasa Indonesia. Another example for this is Budi mau berkunjung ke pasar, meaning Budi wants to travel to Denpasar. Now, in other cases, ingin is used in the formal conversation and formal writing, whereas mau is used for informal conversation and it's not used in formal writing at all. However, they have the same meaning as ingin, so they're just interchangeable at all. Next one is masih. Masih means still, in which the action is still going on. So this is still going on. For example, the sentence they use is Pak Eko masih bekerja di kantor, meaning Mr. Eko is still working at the office. Which means the action of the verb is still going on. Next one is harus, meaning should or must. For For example, saya harus belajar lagi tentang sejarah Indonesia. I must learn more about Indonesian history. Saya is the subject, harus the auxiliary verb plus verb belajar, lagi is the adverb tentang means about, and the object sejarah Indonesia. Sejarah is history. and Indonesia, sejarah Indonesia is Indonesia history. Another auxiliary verb is bisa, or should, can. Sorry. Now, in this case, the can. In this sentence, it is used the ability in order the first sentence as the ability to use, the ability on doing something. For example, Michael bisa berbicara bahasa Indonesia. Michael bisa berbicara bahasa Indonesia, which means Michael can speak bahasa Indonesia. Another example, or another verb, sorry, for suka or like. For example, in this sentence, use suka like this. Dia suka mendengar lagu rohani. He or she likes to listen to spiritual songs. Take note. Dia is a gender pronoun which is indicated to he or she, because in Indonesian there's no such thing as gender pronouns. It's just a neutral or unisex pronoun. Next one is senang. Senang means to like, or something, the thing that you like, or something that you like. For example, Vincent senang main bola basket. Vincent senang main bola basket. Vincent likes to play basketball. Another example, and an auxiliary verb is dapat. Same is dapat. Now dapat is synonymous of bisa, able to. Toto tidak dapat beli perhiasan. Toto tidak dapat beli perhiasan. Toto cannot buy jewelry. Another auxiliary verb is boleh or may. Now this auxiliary verb is permissible, in which can either be yes or no. For example, Rico boleh pergi ke upacara pernikahan orang tuanya. Rico boleh pergi ke upacara pernikahan orang tuanya. The auxiliary verb there is boleh, which means to may. In English, the translation would be Rico may go to his parents' wedding ceremony. Then, the last one, this is not the last one. Another auxiliary verb is ikut. Ikut means follow. The subject plus ikut plus object. For example, and the sentence will be kita semua ikut dia ke Jakarta Pusat. The indicated subject is kita semua. Ikut, verb, dia, not necessarily dia, the object indicator, ke Jakarta Pusat, the object, which means we all follow him or her to Central Jakarta. In the third and the last one is pernah. Pernah is used when the action is happened once. It cannot be repeated anymore. So subject plus, don't mind on the correct mistake, which is, or this is supposed to be pernah, plus verb plus object. For example, the sentence they use is saya pernah berkarya novel saya. I have once writing my novel, or I should say I have once writing my own novel. And it doesn't mind if you will indicate an adverb of time because it's optional. But this sentence is already understandable. Now, there are cases that Indonesian language uses auxiliary verbs. So here are the examples. So here are the example, 3 sentences that I'm going to read. Bagaimanapun juga, kau harus bisa menjadi seorang pengacara. However, you should have become a law. The auxiliary verbs used is harus and bisa, meaning must and can, literally. But in this context, it becomes you should have. Harus bisa becomes should have. Second one is, dengan usaha yang keras, kamu masih bisa meraih cita-cita di hidup. With hard work, you can still pursue your goals in life. And the last one is, saya harus bisa bertahan karena akan tinggal di Indonesia sendirian. Which means, I must be able to survive because I will live in Indonesia alone. And there are second cases is for Indonesian auxiliary verbs with use and affixes. The auxiliary verbs in Indonesian is used and attached with affixes. It can be prefix, infix, suffix, or a combination. And as with other verbs, the addition may change the meaning of the words. First case is prefix ke and the suffix an. You will learn about the affixes in the next lesson, next or future lesson. The affix auxiliary verb uses there is harus, and when you add it with it ke and an, it becomes keharusan, which means a must. It is considered as an auxiliary verb. Sudah menjadi keharusan bila murid-murid harus datang ke sekolah tepat waktu. So the translation is wrong, so I will going to translate it again. Sudah, it is a must for it is a must for students to come to school on time. Okay? And the second one is se. Sorry. The auxiliary verb used is sudah, and when you put it on the prefix se, it becomes susudah. The example here is susudah makan malam, kamu harus cuci tangan. After dinner, you have to wash your hands, because when we eat together, and when we eat, you have to wash your hands before you eat. And after eating, you wash your hands after eating to avoid contamination. Okay, the last one is prefix se and the suffix nya. The auxiliary verb used is harus, and when you add se in the prefix and the suffix nya, it becomes should have. So the example here of the sentence is, seharusnya kamu bisa menjadi juara kelas, which means you should have become the top rank in class. I repeat, seharusnya kamu bisa menjadi juara kelas. I'm going to take it slower so that for those who can catch up. Seharusnya kamu bisa menjadi juara kelas. You should have become the top rank in class. The indicate, so the sentence would be the auxiliary verb used with prefix and suffix becomes seharusnya. Okay, so auxiliary verbs should get confused on those auxiliary verbs or kata bantu. Now the use of kata bantu should not make you confused. And you have to remember that every word the affixes in addition may have a different meaning from those root words that I discussed right now. And then be sure to always check the dictionary to find out the differences with those words. Then, because because in English, we may not use more than one auxiliary verb in a sentence, but in Indonesian, it's possible to use more than just one kata bantu or auxiliary verb in a sentence. And sometimes it can be tricky, but later you will get the when you get the basic pattern, it will be easier to learn Bahasa Indonesia than what you expect. I think. And you just have to be careful on using the words in the right context. So I hope you learn. I hope you learned something for this episode, and I will see you next time. And please remind that you should subscribe my channel because I will be making videos every single week. And also, don't forget to click the bell icon for future notifications. And looking forward that I'm going to make new lessons regarding this Bahasa Indonesia, this segment, Bahasa Indonesia 101 for Filipinos. Because in the next lesson, I'm going to discuss the four negative verbs, tidak, jangan, bukan, and belum. And what are those uses? I'm pretty sure you're getting excited to see this episode. So thank you very much for listening and watching this video, and sampai jumpa.